You know what? It's I talk to the guys, and it's a team sport. And even though you might have individual all-stars, and they may key on your all-stars, the biggest thing you have to do is, like you said, the secondary guys have to rise to the occasion and eventually become all-stars that game.
How productive do you need practice to be tomorrow with the weather the way it's supposed to be?
Say it again. Woodsy threw me off. Yeah, I thought he was going to give me a question.
He's having a bad week.
Yeah.
How productive do you need practice to be tomorrow with the weather it's supposed to be the way it is?
Well, the weather is exactly as it is today. It'll be the exact same temperature, probably a little bit less wind today. No, less wind for the game as it is today. So I think the guys, we prepared in it. There wasn't even a heater out there today. So those guys, they reacted real well.
I remember what I wanted to ask you. No all-stars on defense. You surprised at that?
Oh, man, wow, I didn't know that. Yeah. No, you know what? The thing, I'm probably not. And the reason being because we talked about being a #1 defense. We ended up #2 in points allowed, but we said we'd do it together. And we talked about being a unified front. I'm glad when guys get individual accolades, they always come through a team-type deal. And we've rotated a lot of guys in there, and a lot of different guys has helped us become the #2 defense in this past season. So, I think some guys could have been close, but at the end of the day, whoever voted for it voted that way. But I think we have some good players on defense.
Do you feel that your team as a whole, though, doesn't get a whole lot of respect just because, there's only 3 in total, you have 3 on offense in that team?
Well, when you start looking at it and start saying what's the respect, we have our fans and, everyone has their fans. But as far as respect, whoever voted for it, and it's really you guys who voted for it, but, whoever votes for it, that's how they see it. That's who they think are the best players. I think at the end, the biggest all-star is the Grey Cup, and that's what I've been preaching to this team. That's the biggest thing you want is that ring. That's bigger than any individual accolade. That's what you're going to remember from years on in.
Is it something, though, that the guys can kind of rally around, though?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they're pissed individually, because they've played hard, and some of those guys, like I said, I'm sure they do deserve those honors. But at the end of the day, I think they just have to continue to show who they are, and the best way to show is show that they want to be the #1 defense in the postseason.
I think Corey Sheets has something more to prove than all the guys. He had 1,000 yards, did everything this season. Will he be more motivated on Sunday?
You know what? It depends on how those guys view those things. I think he was already he's a very motivated guy anyway. I think individually, going head-to-head with John Cornish, that's something that we've done 2 times or 3 times this season. I think it's just one of those things where he just wants to be the best back on the field that day.
Corey, what is this team's identity here moving ahead?
Well, moving ahead, I think that's just what it is. We're a team. There's not a lot of, whether we talked about his respect, whether we talked about his stars, there's not a lot of individual names. And I try to tell those guys that, including myself. If you ask about it, it's always the coaches, it's always the players, that it's just a team. And I think a lot of people can say, well, what do you mean just a team? Not every team is really just a team, and we're a team.
But you are young. Does playoff experience mean much?
Well, the thing about it is it's not like it changes. The only thing about the playoffs is, like I said, is it's either one and you're to the next level or one and you're done. There is a bit of intensity that's in the playoffs, but, as far as the experience, it's still just football.
What has Macho proven the last couple of days to maybe get the nod at the start of the quarterback?
One of those things about Macho, and that's it's always a tough decision. I thought he had a good game last game. The second thing is he's healthy, and Macho also brings a lot of energy to the team. He brings a lot of energy, and he definitely has the enthusiasm, and he's had some good execution, and I think it's just his time right now.
We've been told there would be no comment about what was said on Calgary Talk Radio. That said, is it getting a little over the top with what happens on Talk Radio?
No comment. No, you know what? No comment on what was said, but, whether it's talk radio or whatever, there's opinions, and everybody always has opinions, whether it's talk radio or news. And like I said, the reason there's no comment because simply is everyone has an opinion.
Chris Getzlaff's always seems to have success. He has a history with the Calgary Stampeders. You were DB coach. Was there anything specific that just seems to spur him on, whether it's mentally or physically?
I like the way you threw it, that I was the DB coach. But no, when Chris Getzlaff and I meet on the field at the same time, whether it's on 2 different teams, we try to have success. Chris is just one of those players that I'll tell you what, his name may not be as big as some would like, but he's a tremendous player, meaning that he's going to be accountable. He knows if he makes mistakes, he knows how to come back and learn from those. And I think think that he's a guy that I like to see really have a good day just because he's endured some things this year. But at the end of the day, when Chris plays, whether it's Calgary or anybody else, there's just, I guess, certain teams that he's better against than others.
Have you reached a decision on the kicking game? You saw Mr. Schmidt out there doing kickoffs today. I know I shouldn't be watching that.
Yeah, you shouldn't be. But, no, that's one of those things I still need to sit down and talk to Coach Dickinson. Like I said, my final decisions for the roster will be made today after practice.
Well, you talk about younger players who possibly never been losing your season's over scenario. What's the difference between a guy who plays tight in that scenario and a guy who plays loose?
Well, the thing about having a young team is the young team, I think for the most part, they go as we go as coaches and as the vets go. And I think, those guys, they play at such a high energy level because they're younger, and then you mix that veteran presence in, I think it gives you a good chance to win. We don't put the pressure on them saying, hey, you lose this one and you're done. But at the same time, let them know that you have to give your all. This is a total output type deal. No matter about the bumps and bruises, don't think about the weeks ahead. Play it all this week.
Does the fact Labatt made the West Region All-Star validate signing him as a free agent last season?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, for him, definitely. Labatt is a very good football player. He's a very good football player, and I think that means he's been East and West, correct, as an all-star. And I think he deserves it. He's the ultimate pro. He's a fierce competitor, and he loves his job, and he takes it very seriously.
I think Picard could have been in that mix too.
I definitely do. Like I said, I mean, if I was picking it, and league-wide, then we'd probably have one or two guys sitting there, just because I know them individually, and I know how they've played, and I've watched them not just one game or two games, but I've watched them every game.
They say that playoffs are usually decided in the trenches. Have you ever seen a game that wasn't decided in the trenches?
That's a good question. I can't recall it right now, but this one will be. It will definitely be who protects the quarterback and who gets to the quarterback the most. You just jump in. We're not done. All right, so it's who protects the quarterbacks the most, and I think that's what it'll come down to.